Most people, if not almost all of them, do not. I did 9 shows yesterday. 9 hours of broadcasting in one day, everything from Fox to CBS, NBC, all over the country. People are hungering for the truth, and there are stations willing to put the information on. And, of course, the news comes up and tells you something that's totally different, which is funny, because then we discuss it after the news comes over, and it's usually CNN. But that's the state of our country. And people are outraged, and they should be. And you've got to write to Congress, both the House and the Senate, and tell them to get that House Bill 1207 and the Senate Bill, I think it's 608, get support. We've got to get the Fed investigated. The minute we get the investigation going and Congress sees and the public sees what they've done just over the last 5 or 10 years, they're going to demand that the Fed not handle our monetary policy anymore. And there's already a bill waiting in the hopper, which has been there for years, by Ron Paul, the same man, the same representative who put in 1207, and it's waiting there. And if we can get at that information and get this information passed, this legislation passed, then we can go a long way towards perhaps getting ourselves out of this morass that we're in. And I'll tell you another thing, you've got to write to all the congressmen and senators and tell them how you feel about health care and cap and trade and the Federal Reserve. I mean, just listen one right after another. I'm against this. I'm against that. I'm against this. And make your letters short, but send them. Because we're headed towards real trouble in America.
I've got former Marines around the United States going to town hall meetings, Mr. Chapman, and they're standing up. I've actually gotten an email from Washington State from a Marine up there who has been pictured on YouTube dressing down Congressman Beard up there, and people are paying attention. Other Marines are also dressing down congressmen and senators that they go out and meet. Some of these guys have got enough foresight to ask them questions concerning the financial wheretofore of New York and Washington, and would like, some of them have come back to me and asked about the lies that the Congress has done just this last week, where after they recessed supposedly for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even a month, the U.S. national debt is being reported that it's not just $9 trillion, it's somewhere between $20 trillion, and that the $2 trillion increase was just a little pat on the back to the American people, because the spending blitz, according to Betty, says the spending blitz could push the national debt to well over $20 trillion in the next few years. Mr. Chapman, personally, from me to you, you mentioned on this show that the actual debt is really around 60 to 70 trillion. Is that not true?
No, that's incorrect. Others have said that. I say that the total debt, and you're talking about 12 trillion right now in the short-term debt, and that's what you're talking about, which will be 20 not too far in the future. But there's unfunded liabilities, and those are not included. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all the other pensions and goodies that have to be paid for. The total figure is over $100 trillion. So you can tell your congressman and your senator that. And what you should do is go to my site and get a free copy of the International Forecaster, and when you meet these people, hand it to them and say, read it, and you'll get the truth.
I understand that. I got a question from Ohio. Drew asked, can you ask this question for Bob? Does Bob lend any credibility to the claims that prosperity funds have been held hostage by the Red Chinese ambassadors in Washington, D.C.?
I've never heard anything about it, and I don't know anything about it. I just can't answer the question.
Do you?
And I do know that the Chinese are.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I do know that the Chinese are selling between $25 and $100 billion a month, and U.S. Treasuries, and also agencies. The agencies are bonds in Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, and the FHA. And they've been doing that for 6 months. And if they're trying to get rid of all of their dollars, it'll take them about another year and a half, which means the dollar will be under pressure and probably go lower because of that.
From Canada, we can't afford to be specific at this moment, so I'll just say you should be on high alert. The Chinese embassy in D.C. Is seeking to obtain immunity for the Bushes and delay deliveries of leverage and negotiations which are being turned down by the courts of huge financial penalties which are being applied to China by the court because of delays with China claiming that they are unable to pay further PACs, whatever that is. I don't know what a PAC is. Remember, we have previously reported China is just as broke as Obama. The funds to keep the United States alive comes through the Chinese government. Ask Mr. Chapman, does he have knowledge that the Chinese are really the supporters of the U.S. debt?
Well, previously they were, but they're not anymore. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, I get those statistics, when they come out, and they're always in the International Forecaster. Again, if you want the truth, you should subscribe. Or at the very least, at least get a free copy.
I have a gentleman that comes in. I don't know where this gentleman comes up from. He comes from, he says, go get him, Mr. Chapman. You're right on point. Semper Fi.
Well, being on point is very dangerous. I'd rather take up the rear at my age. I couldn't even carry a 50-pound pack.
I understand Mr. Chapman lives in South America or Latin America, and there's a lot of problems going on down here. What does he feel about the financial problems that would happen if the United States were to send a large amount of troops to Colombia and start a false flag war with the Venezuelans who have the support of Brazil as well as other South American countries to come to their aid if the United States were to come forth and attack them?
Well, I think it's questionable whether they would come to their aid even though they've made a pact. They're no match for the military might that the United States can put forward in the region. They just put a fleet down there, and of course they're now using the military facilities in Colombia that belongs to the Colombian government. There's no question they're preparing for war, and another attack on a country that might be run by a communist, but the people voted them into office, and if that's what they want, that's what they should have. And I know he's been very vocal versus the United States government, but he is their president, and so obviously if they were to attack, then I would have to say that the United States is certainly against democracy, and so. But I don't know who would come to their aid rather than China and Russia, and that could end up in the Third World War. But there's no question what they're doing, and the financial and economic problems that are besetting the United States and Western Europe they're affecting everybody in the world. No one's going to get off easy. Some will get off easier than others, but by and large, it's going to be very, very difficult financially.